Hey, welcome back, peeps. We are today going to talk about the second section of this unit, which is geometric sequences, and really the only other section we're going to do in this chapter for right now. So a geometric sequence, if you remember, an arithmetic sequence was all plus or minus. So geometric sequence is always times or divide. So a geometric sequence is a pattern of numbers with a constant ratio between them called a common ratio. If you don't remember, yesterday it was called a common difference when it was add or subtract, which makes sense again because minus means subtract. And fractions are ratios. So in other words, everything is multiply if it's geometric. I know I said multiply and divide, but remember that dividing by a number by 3 is the same as timesing by 1/3, right? If I took 8 and I divide it by 4, it's the same thing as taking 8 and timesing it by 1/4, putting that over 1, and I'd still get 8 over 4, which is 2, either way. Okay, so that's kind of the key to some of these, is remembering that when it's divide, it means to times by that number. So for instance, determine if the following sequences are arithmetic, geometric, or neither. This is kind of what your quiz will look like on Friday. It will have specific questions like this. And then you need to state the next two terms. On the quiz, I will give you ones that work, but sometimes it doesn't always work. Like this is plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, plus 2. Oh, so that's a neither. And I can't even tell what the next two terms are because there's no common terms here, right? So this is just a neither. Okay, maybe pause it, try B, C, D, and E. Okay, all you are doing again is telling me either arithmetic, geometric, or neither, and then stating the next two terms no matter what. Okay, press pause, try the next few. Alright, so you can see this is minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, which makes it arithmetic. And the next two terms would be minus 2 to get 22 and minus 2 more to get 20. That's the answer for that one. This is minus 6 and then it's not minus. So times negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5. Yep, that's it. So that makes it geometric by definition. And if I times these two by negative 5, what I'm going to get is, let's see, what is that? 625. And then 625 times negative, so that was negative times a negative to give me positive, so times the negative will give me negative 3,125. Okay. Next one is times 3 times 3 times 3, so that looks good to go for it to be geometric as well. And if I times it by 3, if you look at that one chart we have, it was 243 and 729. Okay. This is plus 3, plus 4, plus 5. That is not constant. That is not common. So this is a neither. But again, this is what's going to happen on your quiz too, is there is still a pattern here, right? Plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, plus 6 would give me 21. Plus 7 would give me 28. So even when it's neither, you can still have two more terms. Please, please, please remember that. Okay? All right, then we've got this formula right here. Let's put a big box around it here. Or you write it down on your paper if you're just taking along notes like that. A sub 1, just like yesterday, first term, right? A sub 1, first term. Okay, N is term number, just like yesterday. R is the common ratio. And this will help us again to find the next few terms. If I'm looking for like the 30th term, I can just plug in 30 and be good to go. Okay, so we're going to use this explicit formula. We're going to write it first. That's worth a point. Then the next 5 terms are worth more points. So to write it, it's literally just plug stuff in. So I know a sub 1 is 10. Plug it in. Times, and I like to put that in parentheses all the time, my r, which in this case is 1/2. So hopefully you realize this is getting smaller because I'm taking half of it and half of it and half of it, to the n minus 1 power. That's the explicit formula. And I want you to write that out first. Okay? Then you just find the next 5 terms. Well, the first 5 terms. And hopefully you can see that the first term is 10. Because it tells you that, right? First term here is 10. Now also, if I want to find the first term, I can just plug in 1 right here. And 1 minus 1 is 0. And what's anything to the 0 power? Give you a second to answer that. It's 1. And 1 times 10 gives me 10, right? If I go plug in 2, so for this is the first term, second term, third term, fourth term, fifth term, which means I can plug 2 in, plug 3 in, plug 4 in, plug 5 in. That's going to get a little difficult for some of you. If I plug 2 in here, 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 half to the first power is 1 half, and half of 10 is 5. That works, right? If I plug in 3 though, this is where it starts getting a little nasty. 3 minus 1 is 2. 1 half squared. Think about it, what's half of a half? Be a quarter. Well, then a quarter of 10, that gets even grosser, that's 2.5. And then if I plug in 4, that becomes a 3. 1 half to the third power is 1/8. 10 times 1/8. Many of you probably won't know that off the top of your head. But can you see the pattern? Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2 is $1.25. Divide that by 2. Well, you're probably going to need a calculator. It's 0.625. Okay. Alright, so there's the first problem. Press pause, go try B and C, try them out, write it out first, and then plug it in to find your first 5 terms. Alright, so negative 2 times negative 5 to the n minus 1 power. Again, I know what the first term is, negative 2, and I can plug in 2, 3, 4, and 5, or I can just say, I'm timesing by negative 5 to give me 10. I'm timesing by negative 5 to give me negative 50. I'm timesing by negative 5 to give me 250. And then I'm timesing by negative 5 to give me negative 1250. Okay? And that's how we do that. Next one, same thing, 0.345. And some of you, when you do this problem, are going to plug it into your calculator. You don't have to. Right? You go times 10 and then times 10. If you remember, times 10 just moves the decimal over one place. So I got 3.45, 34.5, 345, and then 3450. Okay? So just multiply, multiply, multiply. That's what this is over and over and over again. Now multiplying by 1/2 again means divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. We talked about that meaning the same thing. Okay? Looking down at the geometric mean. This is not written on your paper, but this is something you need to know. Okay, geometric mean. Maybe you put a box around this or whatever. This is the square root of the product of 2 numbers. Okay? So, when I want to find the square root of the product of 2 numbers, you probably need to know that product means multiply. So, this picture is kind of hard to see, but this is an 8, and this is a 6 1/8 right here. This is a, hopefully you can see this, this is a swing, and that's, you know, a girl on the swing with her hair hanging down. In other years, this has been so dark that you can't really see what it is, but this is, you can actually hopefully see that there's 2 arms hanging onto ropes and so on, right? A little fun. Alright, so, when you swing without being pushed, air resistance causes the length of the arc of the swing to decrease geometrically. Obviously, if you get going really good and then you stop pumping on a swing, well, then you start to slow down, right? So it wants us to find the missing arc. We know that 8 feet was on the first one, 6 1/8 were on the third one. What's in the middle? Well, then we'd use the geometric mean for that. The square root of 8 times 6 1/8. And some of you will struggle, but this is really 8 times 6, which is 48, and 8 times 1/8, which is 1. And the square root of 49, you can all do that, that's 7. Do I need you to even do that? No. 1/8 in a calculator, you would just go 1 divided by 8, and I get 0.125. So that's 6 more, so plus 6 to get 6.125, that's 6 1/8, and then times that by 8. Square root of that is 49, right? Second square root, second answer to get 7. Okay. So with that being said, for this one, usually I would say, okay guys, now you guys go try these 4 problems. So you know what? Go pause it. Go try these problems. Come back, check your answers. Alright, so 20 times 80 is 1600. Square root of that is 40. And again, this should make sense. I'm going to come back to this one, by the way. This should make sense. This is times 2 and times 2. But here's the problem. It could also be times negative 2 times negative 2. So when you're doing a problem like this and it's not giving you actual values, like you can't have negative 7 here, right? But you got to put plus or minus here. And that is going to be worth a point. Because not only could it be 2 or times 2 times 2, it could be times negative 2 times negative 2, and it would get you to there too. That's why it could be the geometric mean or its opposite. So you got to have plus or minus in here. When we're talking about home values, there's only one way to do that. $168,000, right? And that is a positive number because we're talking about a positive value. But here, we don't know about that. We times that together, I get the square root of 56.25, which is 7.5, which is times 2.5 and times 2.5 again. But it can also be times negative 2.5 and times negative 2.5. I'd still get to this number. So again, plus or minus. Same thing here, plus or minus. Times those together, I get kind of a big number. Like that. Square root it, I get 378. Okay? Plus or minus. And it is important to put plus or minus. You'll lose silly points if you don't. Okay? Alright. Here's your homework. I don't think you need to do all of this homework, but maybe double check that you do at least, a couple from every section so you understand it. On Thursday, I'm going to post the solutions to both 11.2 and 11.3, and you will be able to see how you're doing from there. Okay? So, again, you've got this homework assignment, and then from 2 days ago, you have, this homework assignment. So, between those two assignments, that should take you to Thursday, when, again, I will post a practice quiz on Thursday, the solutions to both of these assignments on Thursday, and then on Friday we'll have a quiz. Have a good week, folks, and talk to you soon, hopefully.